happening here tonight?
Well, we've got the official launch of Diablo 3 here in the UK, and I think we've got a moment in popular culture is what's happening here tonight. I couldn't believe when I arrived at the store there were sort of queues that just, I think, stretched back certainly probably the best part of a mile. I mean, it's the longest. I've worked for HMV 27 years, so I've seen all sorts of in-store events, for games, music, film. I've never seen anything quite as big as this. World of Warcraft, we had a big event launch here some years ago, and that was massive. This is maybe probably touch bigger, which I never thought I'd see or say. It's just incredible. And what's also brilliant is the temperament that everyone is showing. If this was a music event and people couldn't quite get in and they thought something was happening, you'd get pushing and you'd get bad tempers and arguments. Instead, everyone outside, even though they're still not here, they're just so chilled and cool with each other, they're enjoying it, and it just demonstrates what we know about gamers, which is for them it's about being in that community, sharing it, being part of something. We've had people, I think, started queuing on Friday, in all weathers. People have travelled from Germany, other parts of Europe as well. You won't get that for anything other than for games, and particularly these forms of games as well. And I'd say in all the years that I've been with HMV, this is the biggest event that we've ever actually staged here, which is amazing.
So for someone who works in an HMV store, would you say that video games are just huge by this point?
Video games are the biggest and the best, honestly. You can see the way that people consume music and film is changing, and very often people will even try to consume that illegally as well. They're not putting anything back in. With games, there seems to be this sense of responsibility that you're part of that. You consume something that's taken years, as we heard from interviews earlier, to develop and create and make, and so your part of the bargain as a gamer is to then buy that product and play it and enjoy it and talk about it. And there's no other sort of user of entertainment content that compares to a gamer or to a games fan. And it's a wonderful thing to just see people enjoying the moment, and when it's their turn, even if it's 4 hours, 5 hours, because we reckon this queue is a good 4 to 5 hour job. But people aren't pushing, they're just enjoying it all, and it's a wonderful thing.
So culturally here we are seeing something quite special, and how do you feel the industry is portrayed? You see something like tonight, and you hear about things in the news that are sometimes negative. Yeah. What would you say to those people from what you've seen tonight?
Well, these are the most responsible sort of fans I've ever seen in terms of how they're behaving, and clearly they're able to distinguish between, fiction and fantasy and the kind of real world that we all have to live in as well. This is a moment of escape for us all, one that they're very passionate about, but one that they know where the boundaries are too. And so we know how the media can operate. They like to sensationalize and dramatize, and sometimes you hear that a tragic event has happened and that person happened to play a game once, and they try to sort of somehow blame the game, which is a ridiculous thing. But we know as sort of part of that gaming community, or rather, I can't claim quite to be that, but I know enough to know that it's an incredibly responsible community, and it's one that puts a huge amount back in, rather than just sort of taking stuff out. And it's the other thing that's really interesting is, as we know, we're on the cusp of this whole movement away from physical product, supposedly, to digital product, and certainly with music and to an extent with film, that's happening, it's accelerating. But with games, although of course people do play online and you've got digital sales, I think there's still a great desire to physically own the product, especially when it's as special as this and you get the limited edition version as well. People have literally queued for days in order to get their hands on it. So I think that demonstrates that there is still this desire for something tangible and a physical thing that you can own and collect and enjoy. And as I say, you only really get that with games. So I think it's a very special industry. Not that we needed telling, really. We've known this for many, many years.
Would you definitely say that the music industry and the film industry need to see this and learn something from?
I think music and film should be here tonight. And our two biggest ever launches in HMV's history are games related. Diablo 3 and World of Warcraft, and nothing's come close, I would say. The only thing actually that has come close a little bit was Oasis in 1997. The release of Be Here Now, and all around the country there were sort of queues outside stores. But that was one of those moments where it kind of seemed to sort of connect with a mass audience. This isn't a mass audience, this is a very specialist audience, that just love it, and they'll go to any lengths to be part of it. And I think if music and film industry could bottle up what is here tonight, they'd be a very, very happy kind of business, because there's change happening in their business. They can't quite understand it. They don't quite know what their customers, the fans want, how they're behaving. Whereas I think if I was a games publisher or a games distributor, I'd be very happy, because I'd know I'd have the most loyal fans anywhere on the planet that are into games, and this is an incredible response, and it's one that I feel very privileged to be witnessing, to be honest with you.
You definitely should feel privileged to have this going on in an HMV store. Does this now make you want to take over every midnight launch and place it here?
Well, we've tried to do every single one, but not unfortunately the kind of publishers like to share these things out. But why they like to come to HMV Oxford Street is I think it's still the largest entertainment space in the world. We've got 3 big floors. On this ground floor we've got a huge stage and there's a big screen. We've got lots of queuing space outside. So actually, and because we've had lots of live music events and film signings, we like to think we're fairly well practiced at staging these kind of epic events, which I think games deserve as well. So, of course, if there's any other kind of publishers out there, we'll certainly take your launches, and we look forward to the next one, because this has really whetted our appetite. And I think what we also want to do is to find other ways of rewarding the fans that come along and understanding them better. I suddenly was saying to my boss who was here, we should have a market research team here. You've got a ready-made audience of people that are probably more than happy to sort of share what it is that they expect from retailers, publishers, what they want to see, what you can do to reward them. So I think we love to do a lot more with social media. We should have done something with Facebook locations or Foursquare. At this very moment in time, we'd have been the very beating heart of the whole world, I think, because it's such a sort of great thing that's actually taking place. So, and I've been very lucky today. Earlier, we had the launch of Music is Great. I don't know if you know what that is. It's like a sort of government industry initiative to promote British music in the run-up to the Olympics and the Diamond Jubilee. We had Jessie J performing live on stage. She was amazing. Big crowd of about 500 people. And I was very lucky. I got invited to the European premiere of Snow White and Huntsman in Leicester Square. And then I came on here afterwards, and I've been even more spoilt with the launch of Diablo 3. So I couldn't think of 3 greater moments in music, film, and now games in a huge way. It's going to be a very sort of special memory for me that will live long in the mind, I'm sure.
So we've all learnt something tonight. Have you now been influenced to pick up a copy? Have you got a copy waiting out the back for you?
I haven't, because I think we've got just enough copies for all the people that are here, and I wouldn't dare even take one, because then we might suddenly deny someone that opportunity. So I think at the very least these people deserve the opportunity to get hold of, if not the limited edition one, which by its definition is quite limited, then at least the standard sort of copy. And I think we're just about going to cover the demand that's going to be here, so I daren't take one for myself. But once we've got more stock in, I think I better get into it myself.
Excellent. Well, you better get on home after this is all finished. What sort of time are you expecting to leave?
I'm here for another 3 or 4 hours, because there's still a huge queue all the way down Oxford Street. We've only been able to get half of it in, and already the store feels kind of rammed. So I think until we're done, like the designers, they're not going home. Well, actually, I think they've got a 5:30 train to catch to Amsterdam, so they better be done by then. But hopefully by about 3 or 4 we'll be done, and then we can go home and get a bit of rest. But nights like this make it all worthwhile, because you're doing, as a retailer, you're connecting with your customers, your audience. You're selling them stuff, you're making them happy, they're making us happy. So these days don't come around all that often. They're very memorable, very special, so we want to enjoy it and squeeze every minute out of it that we can.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
And you guys, thank you very much for coming along.
Hope to see more HMV big events like this in the future.
Well, no, we absolutely want to, and hopefully we'll speak again very soon. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you so much.